long did it take you to distinguish between the R's and the O's?
Oh, the R's and the O's, that was a tough one.
It took 10 years into his reo journey. Jeremy Tātere MacLeod, the symposium coordinator, is a hotshot speaker now. But raised in Australia, it wasn't always the case.
So my parents didn't speak Māori. We didn't have Māori in our home. We had VHS tapes, actually, and it was the Te Hokinga Mai concert, the old man Jack Wihongi. It was the first time I heard Māori being spoken. So that was when I first felt the ihi and the wehi and the wonder of the language, 5 years old at a preschool in Brisbane. Finished high school in 2003-17, and then I moved here in January 2004 and went and started learning Māori at the Polytech here in Napier, which had a lot of fluent native speakers. Worked hard to learn the language as fast as I could because I wanted to prove all the naysayers wrong, that I was going to stick it out. Meka Whaitiri, actually, former CEO of the Runanga, placed me in the driver's seat of the Ngāti Kahungunu Māori language strategy in 2010. I was 23 with packhouse experience. Had been running a night shift in a packhouse for 8 years while studying Māori during the daytime.
Āpāhua Papa has been a strong advocate for Māori offshore, kapahaka, artists and theatre groups. Her siblings Pānea and Rahui are also respected champions of Te Reo.
Did you grow up in a Māori-speaking whānau?
No. So our mum was Pākehā. She came to New Zealand on a boat in the 60s. Her and her mate on a big adventure, and they landed in Aotearoa, and they ended up marrying two friends from the rugby club.
Which club?
Frankton. Frankton Railways Rugby Club, this is back in the 60s. First of all, I think she decided that she was going to bring us up Māori. And so she signed up to correspondence school, and Api Mahuika was her teacher. And so we grew up, and so this was when I was about, I was in primary school still, and we would see Timoti's books, Te Reo Rangatahi, and the Ngata Dictionary lying around the house. But also our great-grandmother couldn't speak English very well. And so we kind of learnt to talk to her in a language that she could understand. And then in high school, I made a choice to go and learn Te Reo. So now I just go to every kaupapa reo there is happening anywhere in the country, and just, keep adding to the kite mātauranga.
Similarly, Hannah O'Regan learnt the language, a graduate of Te Panekiritanga, which takes reo speakers to the next level. She's a guest speaker.
What's your topic?
Colonization and the impact on languages.
Do we need to know more about that, or have we got a sense of it?
I know, right? You think you're coming to a hui, people who are passionate and love Te Reo Māori are coming to a hui. Do they really need to know about the impact of colonization and lifting all that trauma to the fore? I did think about that. I guess the thing that is really important now is about the understanding how history can repeat itself. Or my father uses the line, history doesn't necessarily repeat, but it usually rhymes. And so if you can see the pattern of the colonial thought coming through generation after generation, you're much better prepared to be able to create the resilience factors to be able to defend against it.
The C word, its impact on Te Reo and our people has been profound.
Speak in Māori and express our thoughts. Should not be denied that right.
If I think back to like my father's generation, they were strapped or had their mouths washed out with soap. My generation came in and we were told the language won't get you anywhere, and there was no real facility for learning until Whatarangi, Winiata and all those ones came along with their immersion programs. Our kids got into the kohanga thing, and now we're another generation. And there still seems to be a younger generation that talks about language trauma. Does that land with you at all?
I mean, I come from a family that has 2 to 3, possibly 4 generations of cultural disconnection. That's if we were to rate cultural proficiency by knowing your pepeha and how to do a mihi. I mean, they were providers. They knew the values of hospitality, but there was a big language trauma in my family. So, I mean, I broke that mould after 3 generations going to learn. But I think our children today have this privilege and they don't understand what it's like to not know the language, and they don't understand what it's like to have to go and pay and go through all the mental and the emotional and spiritual hardships of learning it as an adult.
I saw my dad struggle when he decided he wanted to learn the reo, and how much it meant to him.
He te pu tēnei. This is a table.
You know, this is in the 1970s when classes weren't that readily available, and he worked really hard on it. And, you know, he has a command of the language that helps on the marae. Probably would struggle in a class with panekiretanga people around him, but it really made him feel more connected.
Does understanding and speaking Te Reo make you more Māori in a way?
I think it depends on the speaker himself or herself. Does he or she feel more Māori because he or she speaks the language? And I think that's where we should be going. We should be defining them from our perspective. They should be defining themselves from their own perspective. It gives you that extra something that a lot of other people haven't got. And I think it's the extra something that we're all wanting.
This report noted that Māori speaker numbers reached their highest ever in 2023, led by young people, women and rural Māori communities.
What do you think has made the biggest difference to language revitalisation if you look back?
The way you learn the language, understanding things like the R and or categories, which can just send you into a vortex of, you know, it's like thinking about how big the universe is. I think the Māori television, of course, in 2004, Māori music in recent years, like it's skyrocketed. I just think the amount of opportunities, but in particular, programs for those that are fluent speakers where they can go and they can improve their skills.
I'm just amazed at the command of some of the people of the younger generation. And it's a positive. It really is a positive. So.
But I guess it's based on the time you have. I mean, I was a 17-year-old with no issue, no one else to worry about apart from myself. So I had the time and I had the resource. For a lot of people, I guess, learning the language means that you're saying no to lots of other things, and quite often those things is what puts kai on the table.
I had to go to Tangi on the weekend, and I'm thinking, surely there'll be someone else there that will do the karanga. I know I'm of a certain vintage where there are expectations.
I was one of the guest speakers.
Anyway, I couldn't get out of it because there's only 4 of us there.
I'd learned the words, put it into a sentence, do it 3 or 4 times, put it in the memory, and it was gone by morning tea.
Journalist Mike McRoberts talked about learning a language late in life.
I feel pretty confident in doing the formal parts, if I kōrero, mihi, karakia.
E moki moki ana hau ki a koe. I am lonely for you. That's a hot text to your wife.
It's been such a strong part of my life now. It's still the kōrero I get stuck on, you know, it's like you're
Piti kōrero.
you're speaking to me and I'm in delay.
While public support for Te Reo is growing, the language is still a convenient hot-button topic for some politicians.
Mihi ana ki ngā tōranga pū ko tai mai ki tēnei hui. Te tikanga ko te katoa o te iwi o te hunga Māori kei roti te pāremata, me tai ki tēnei hui. Kia rongo i te reo, te wairua, o tēnei wehenga o te ao Māori, e kai ngākau ki te mea e whakarereke tātou ki tetahi atu iwi o te ao, ko tō tātou reo.
Some people out there that say Pākehā are sick of having Te Reo shoved down their throat. What's your sense from the many communities you move in?
I don't think it's true. I get the fortune of sitting with the big end of town, and big businesses recognise that Māori are the fastest growing population, that Te Reo Māori is naturalised amongst our people, and if they want to appeal to them, they've got to have Māori language strategies. So, and then of course we've got tamariki, Pākehā, Chinese, Indian at schools right across the country learning Reo Māori.
What about the circles that you move in? Pākehā, other cultures, what are you hearing?
Honestly, I've had comments like maybe in the last government it went too far and this is a bit of a pushback, but this is more than a pushback. It's just mean, and it's of no consequence really.
My neighbour is very Pākehā, old, baby boomer, who always grew up in a time where my best friend is Hori or Rangi and they were good Māoris because they didn't speak Māori or they didn't come out right as Māori the way we are today.
Didn't want their land back.
That's right, and now he says to me, look, my grandkids speak Māori at their school and they're Pākehā. And he said, and if I want to communicate with them, I've got to speak Māori too. And it's small words, whānau, aroha, kai, karakia, and he loves it and he's embraced it. He said, it's changed his world.